Like anybody's story, it starts much earlier. I was born in post-war Germany. I was the oldest child of a German mother and a refugee dad. And I was basically told that I would never amount to much in my life. And unfortunately, because we moved a lot, I believed this story for a very long time, probably a much too long time. Nevertheless, so this is just the introduction, and I'm doing this because when I read a book from Mary Kay, it started with, I always knew I would make it because my mom told me I'm great. So my story starts differently, and every story starts differently, but what's important is where our story takes us and what we do with our personal stories. So my life actually changed very slowly, but very definitely when I moved to America in 1985. As a European citizen, and then I also lived in Brazil for 3.5 years, where I had two children, my first two daughters, Kirsten and Alexandra. I still believed that I was not good enough. I was just waiting. Basically, I spent my life waiting to be discovered that I'm not so special. And then I moved to America. Much against my will, I just couldn't see myself in America, and it's such a different culture from what I was used to, from the culture I used to have. But America really made me who I am today, and America taught me a lot of things. I would not be sitting here if I had not made that move. The biggest change came because of the lady who we bought our house from. She called herself Diamond Dottie, very American. She taught me how she tricked her husband into getting her all these diamonds. I never, to this day, was able to trick my husband into it. But Diamond Dottie, or Dorothy, she called me one day. We became friends. And she called me one day and she said to me, "Karen, I love you." And I said, "How dare you say you love me? You don't even know me." And there was a moment of silence on the phone, and then she said, "Our Lord didn't create any garbage, or did he?" And when she said this, it was like an awakening. I looked at myself in an entirely different light, but I also looked at everybody I met in a much, much less judgmental light than I was brought up to look at. So for the first time in my life, I had mercy with myself, and I started slowly but surely to accept myself for who I was. So this is part of the immediate personal experience, main experiences of my life.
So something that we wanted to talk a little bit more about is the aspect of resilience and how that played into your personal story, Sabika's story. I know I've had to overcome, and you've been such a great example to me of resilience as well. I loved what you just said earlier too. Can you, the victim, if you're not a...
Oh, I said if you are not a victim, you're a survivor.
That's right.
There's only those two possibilities for anybody's life. Absolutely. Yeah, resilience is something that, thank God, I think we all have somewhat in us. But in order to focus the resilience in a way, we all have obstacles. And I always say, if there's an obstacle, to me it's a stumbling block. You fall and then you just go back up. And everybody now talks so wonderfully about the Sabika story. My story is not over. Life changes. It can throw curveballs at every given moment, but as long as I'm healthy and as long as I'm ready, I will be back up and I will be going and I will stay who I am. And resilience, again, to me is not just the resilience, but how you use it. Some people become excuses. They say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, my husband broke his foot, now I couldn't do this." Or this is everything, they choose to be a victim. And I honestly thought I was a victim for over 40 years. because I did not only have the parental abuse, I was kidnapped and raped, as you know, and I had a lot of terrible things. So I lived my life as being convinced I attract the bad, I am a victim, and I was ready to spend my life as a victim until I saw a counselor again in Pittsburgh for the first time at age 42, I believe. And I was telling her, woe me, poor me. And she looked at me and she said, you're not a victim, you're a survivor, you know that. No, I didn't know it, but I know it ever since. And then everything that comes, that doesn't mean I live without fear.
Right. I love what you said too. It's courage is not the opposite of fear. It's having fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I always loved that quote from you too.
Yeah.
And I also see that resilience. It really goes through the entire Sabika experience and what our brand is about. I think about the designs too that you have taught me to create designs that almost give you that armor of resiliency because you feel maybe a little bit more confident when you put it on, or overcoming certain fears of, I know for myself when I started with Sabika, I am an introvert, and you always taught me, speak up, speak a little louder so people that can hear you. And through Sabika too, I have been able to learn to go outside of my comfort zone. And I think that has so much to do with resilience as well, as just stepping out of your comfort zone. It's like a muscle that you're training, and when you've done it once and you do it again, it's like you're building up this resilience, which is really beautiful.
Resilience to me almost sounds like it's an ongoing fight, but I don't look at my life anymore as a resilient life, not even at yours. I think we have discovered a way to embrace opportunity, to see opportunity, and that's something that everybody who wants to make it in life, in my opinion, needs to train. There is 100 of opportunities every day, but you need to train your eye to see them.